Hello everyone, and welcome back to Celeste Strawberry Jam. Today we are tackling the entirety of the advanced lobby, which has 25 levels and a final Heartside. I'm gonna show you the final screen of every individual level, and then I'm gonna show the entirety of the Heartside. First thing I'm gonna do is go to this gym so you can actually understand what is happening in all of these levels. Let's start with the neutral jump. So you may have seen me do this if you jump while not holding a direction and then hold the direction of the wall. You can do stuff like this, and you can line up certain jumps like that, which will become useful in some of the levels. A mid-air super is where we dash on a block and then jump off, getting some crazy momentum like that. I don't actually know how it works, don't ask. I just know it works and we use that as well. The hyper bunny hop, where we do a short hyper and then a jump immediately after, where we get a lot of speed, especially on this part when we have additional momentum. Yeah, we got a lot of speed out of that. A launch boost, which is already covered in previous videos. The bane of my existence. If you hold the direction you want to go, you fly further in that direction when something launches you back. That has messed up many previous attempts in other lobbies and stuff. The Theo regrab, which we've already covered a bit in Farewell. You can do crazy stuff with Theo. A lot of that is going to be covered in this lobby as well. This is me going through the final screen, which actually was already kind of tough. We're gonna do a lot crazier stuff than that though. The crouch jump, where apparently, obviously you can do a crouch jump, but if you hold climb while crouched, you can time your jumps just well so that you can do stuff like that on a wall. This is something that we won't actually see in this video. I can't even remember if we saw that in this lobby, but I think it's just taught to you right now because you might know it. And then reverse stick. Every forward wave dash and stuff, that momentum can be launched backwards. So we get initial speed in one direction and we launch the other way. So here I'm doing some hypers and supers and all of that stuff. I'm doing a mid-air super and launching the other way. Apparently you can do that. I didn't know that. This took me a little while to get used to. You can essentially see this as a wave dash, but instead of getting speed forward and then launching forward, we get speed one way and we launch the other way. And then finally the Jellyvader, where we hold down to drop the jellyfish. Normally you launch it or you throw it any direction you're holding. If you hold down, that stays in the same position. This one took me a while to get used to. This is actually the one gym room that I didn't first initially complete. I came back to that later. That's all the basic moves that we're going to use in this advanced lobby, and then some. The first level we go to is Sands of Time, which has a really interesting time freeze mechanic. There are these blue circular dash freeze crystals, or time freeze crystals. If you get them, there's one right there, so I'm getting this. Time is frozen, and it will only start again if I run out of dashes. So I'm being very careful to always have a dash here. I'm doing this so this wall is high enough so I can do that. And just in that little second, I didn't have a dash, so time unfreezes again. Here I'm grabbing that crystal, making sure to be very careful to not use a dash so I can make my way through this. And then in the end, I almost fuck it up by missing the crystal heart, but luckily everything in Celeste is salvageable. That is the first level, a very good introduction level to this lobby, and the kind of moves you will have to do. The next level is Slime Time, and a new thing that's introduced there is it uses a lot of these bubbles, including these gray bubbles, which launch you forward instantly. It's essentially an automatic fast bubble, so here I'm doing some wave dashes and some fast bubbles. Those were not fast bubbles, but that's an instant fast bubble. Here I jump, dodging the blocks, getting the bird, and then getting to the end. You may notice that some of these early screens are going to be fairly short and quick. See this as an extended learning period so you can watch the entire Heartside clip in the end of this video while fully understanding what is going on. On to Lethal Laser Laboratory, which is one of the shortest levels in the lobby. I mean, these are all basic moves. They kind of speak for themselves, doing some reverse wave dashes and some normal wave dashes. These lasers I can't pass through, so here I have to be quick so I can get to the Crystal Heart as well. That leaves us with the next level, which is Starry Ruins, which introduces these portals. So gameplay here may be a little bit confusing to follow, but just know that when I enter a red portal, for example, I'm always going to exit another red portal. When I enter a yellow one, I exit a yellow one, and so on and so forth. Pretty basic portal stuff, but it may be a little bit confusing to watch. Something else I should say is that this is all spliced together. All of these little clips and lobby running around is put together in a very delicate way. I'll talk more about that, but here we get momentum. We stall here, and then we get through. Very short screen as well, but definitely took me a bit to figure out and to get used to. As I was saying, all of these clips have been spliced together. Not all of the levels have been recorded in this order. I have played them all, but I'm showing them in the order of difficulty, obviously. Next level is Undergrowth, which is a sort of almost puzzle level. It's not focused on using or doing super cool flashy stuff. It's more about using your moves in a clever way. So here I'm doing neutral wall bounces and all that stuff. I'm being very careful to keep this dash so I can break that wall, getting the key and then forgetting to dash left. Whoops. Luckily I respawn here so I can get back here. This little clip doesn't do this level justice, but it is not, like I said before, it's not focused on extremely flashy stuff. It's more, how well do you know Celeste tech and when to use all of your moves in what scenarios and stuff. So that's that level. You may also notice the timer in the top left is gonna jump 20 hours back and forth. Not all of the lengths of all of the levels may seem sensical. That's because I played some levels before recording them and then only came back for the final screen. So yes, I used variant mode and invincibility here and there. But trust me, I did all of these levels without using invincibility, as will be very clear by the end of this, where I'm gonna show you the journal with all of the times, the correct times, and how long everything took to record. On to Lost Woods, which is another puzzle level. Don't ask how I got here, by the way. The goal of this level is to get 3 keys, which are hidden in various parts of the levels. Or in this level, I guess. Some of these parts of the level you can only get to in a certain season. So there's the green, orange, and purple season. And there are these transitions that I can get to change the season. So now we are in some sort of a fall season. We will get into a winter season. My goal right now is to get to the bottom right whilst in this green zone. However, to get there, you can see on my left there is a transition. If I were to go through that right now, that would probably become an orange or a purple season, which is not what I want, because then I can't get through. So I am making my way all the way around this, just to be able to get to the end. In fact, this level in the beginning says, make sure you have pen and paper. I didn't have that, so I just ran around aimlessly. I don't remember how long this level took me, but it definitely was sort of a cool puzzle to figure out. Lost Woods is presumably also a reference to the Lost Woods in Zelda games, which is also always some sort of a puzzle to get through, and that is the Crystal Heart. And that's all of the 6 green levels already. On to the yellow levels, starting with Jellyfish Sanctum. Now, Jellyfish Sanctum has modded jellyfish. Some of them are purple, and you can stand on the purple ones, which you can't do on the normal blue ones. So I'm just making my way to the next level here. This level took me a while. This one took me close to an hour. You can see a lot of neutral drops and wave dashes off of moving jellyfish. It's complicated, and it definitely took me a while to get the hang of, especially from this neutral drop thing. In fact, it's in this level that I learned how to do the neutral jellyvader. Doing a final wave dash here and getting to the crystal heart. This screen is relatively tame still compared to the Heartside level. The Heartside one is, holy fuck, that one is a nightmare, but we will get to that very soon. Next level is actually very close by. Tectonic Trenches uses these key coins that move position and Battlein, and there's chasing Battleins. It's a lot. So we do a wave dash here. All of these key coins moved into position so that this block will come up so those spikes won't hit me. And then finally I make my way to the other side. That screen took me a long time. I think this entire level took me 20 minutes and the final screen took 30 more minutes. Here I'm just going through some story stuff. I don't even remember the story. It doesn't really matter. That is Tectonic Trenches done. Which brings us to the next level, which is Golden Dawn. Golden Dawn is another fairly standard jellyfish level, where you do a lot of throw, dash, grab moves, and you do a lot of re-grabs, essentially. So as I'm making my way there, maybe this is also a good time to talk about how difficult some of these levels were for me. So this one actually I found relatively easy. So here I do some neutral, no, I'm not even doing neutral drops. I'm just doing re-grabs. That jellyfish is now up there, so I can use it for this final sequence. Being very careful to not die to the spikes here. As I was saying, this level wasn't really that difficult. In fact, for example, Undergrowth, like the level that we saw just a bit ago, I found way more difficult because it was a lot more difficult to figure out what to do. But now we are definitely getting into easier or more manageable territory. Talking about more manageable territory, the next level is called Forest Rush. Everyone presumably hates ice physics in levels, but if you just add a skateboard to this, everyone loves it. You will see some incredible speeds at which Madeline travels. Evidently. So this is actually, the skateboard doesn't do anything, it's just a sprite change on Madeline. A sprite means the little icon of Madeline and all of her animations and whatever. That's Madeline's sprite, so to speak. So the sprite set of this entire game would be all of the blocks and how it looks like and whatever. It's just they changed a parameter on Madeline so that she's really slidey. The skateboard doesn't actually do anything, but I think it's a cool visual thing that they added. Fun fact about that clip, I recorded the first part and I spliced the ending where I got the crystal heart on another moment because apparently I didn't record that in the original clip. That's what I mean with all of this is spliced together so that it makes one cohesive story. But I did this also on multiple save files. That's why the timer will jump around. Sometimes it will be there, sometimes it won't be there. Attack of the Clone is a level where Badeline is modified so that she can only take damage from explosive stuff like that jellyfish or that crystal that I am being very careful to take all the way with me. That is somewhere on the right now. I'm getting this dash here, dodging this laser. That crystal is going to be in my face right here. Throw it in Badeline so she opens up the way. This whole level is just little boss fights slash puzzles, which I really, really like. Again, in the Heartside, we're gonna see that cranked up to 11. But I won't spoil that for you yet. The next level is another banger. It is unfortunately the last bee-themed level in this entire mod. But so far we've had one in every lobby. Bee Berserk. This level overall is fairly tame, but this final room has a modified Battlein who looks like a bee now, and these core flames which have been modified to look like bees, and these orbs where you have to hold back to shoot forward, which is really funny on the brain considering all of the other orbs you got used to right now don't do that. So the timing of that was definitely weird, but the part I struggled with the most was, hilariously enough, these final dashes, which, all things considered, might be the easiest part of this level, but I definitely struggled with that. And then we pop out of the little hive, and we can get the crystal heart. For the record, I cut out a little part in this final section, because I went to look at the note on the left, and I stayed there for about 2 minutes. That little note is just a thank you, a shout out to everyone who helped with that little map of this lobby, which I really like. I really like those little details. The next level is a weird one, because it's JavaScript. I really like the pun in that name, by the way. This entire level takes place in one room, but you start off really small and the room is really big. You may have noticed all the way on the left there is a key lock, which was very big, and there are these little potions that shrink the room, or make Madeline bigger. So that big pillar that we just dropped down is now the same pillar pretty much on the right of us, which is now smaller. So you start off in this area with that key lock on the left being absolutely enormous. All of these key coins are enormous. And the more you shrink this level down, the easier it becomes to find your way out. Or not necessarily easier, but that's your goal, is to shrink the level down or make yourself bigger so that you can make your way out. So here I'm getting this key, get teleported back so we can get up there, make our way closer to another potion that will make us bigger. This level was another really difficult part because it was difficult to choose what is a final room here. You can consider this as a final room, but I just chose a moment where I thought, okay, this is a nice moment that gives me enough time to explain what this level is all about. So finally we can get through this lock and make our way out. You can see, for example, now that the timer is on 9 minutes and 13 seconds, that's because I did this level, I think, about 3 times. And I definitely used invincibility to skip ahead to a certain part to just record that final bit. But as I said, I only used the invincibility once I actually completed the level to skip stuff. I promise you I did definitely do every room, as will become clear with the timers in the journal that I'm going to show at the end of this. There is one more level that is a yellow level, and it is Raindrops on Roses, which is essentially a big map focused on more exploration. You have to get a lot of keys, you have to get a lot of tokens and all that stuff. So here again I chose a certain point where I would start this clip, which is here. My goal is to get 2 keys to get to the end. This map focuses a lot of stamina management, and as you can see, Madeline has an umbrella. That umbrella is essentially, it functions the same as a jellyfish, but you can deploy that whenever you want. And yes, it uses stamina, that's why this map revolves a lot about using stamina. You will see that the 2 keys we get also play a certain part in the ending of that. Maybe you can also notice already that this map is not designed in the traditional sense of single rooms. It is a very spread out map focused on exploration and just running around discovering shit and getting to places and all that stuff. So here I'm getting the second key, going back to beginning, making my way up top. Being very careful not to die, because I spent way too long in this level already. This was another one where I had to wrap my brain around the concept first, and then I was able to complete it. So that one key is to get through, and that other key that we got is literally just to have a little place to stand so we can refill our stamina to get all the way back up. So that's where the stamina management part of this map definitely also comes in. So here I'm just making my way to the top to get to the crystal heart. Even this is kind of designed like a little maze, a little where do you want me to go, focused on exploration rather than execution. And that is all of the yellow maps. The next level is the first red map, and it is called Toggle Theory. There are these movable blocks that will move when you dash, but only after a certain point. So take note that on the blocks there is a little square, and once that square, or it's more like a circle, once that circle disappears and an arrow comes on, that's the cue that blocks will move when you dash. So for example, there's a circle, I dash, now the block will move with my next dash. Here it's the same thing, and I do a hyper bunny hop. This level revolves around that concept a lot. This was another one where I had to wrap my brain around how the concept worked and how these blocks worked. And once I figured that out, this map really wasn't that difficult at all. In fact, I would probably almost call it a yellow map if it were not for some of the more difficult execution parts. The fact that you have to do 2 hyper bunny hops in a row at the end is what makes this map a red advanced map, I feel like. So moves are gonna be... I should rephrase that. Your moves should be more perfect in the next following levels. That's why these are red levels. Superstructure is one of them. So I move a lot of these blocks in certain positions, and there are these batteries, which you can basically see as an advanced Theo, which if I throw them in these certain battery slots, then certain gates will open up. I also didn't realize this, but the red things, which you won't see those now, but I will come back to that on the Heartside screen. The red lights in the background, not those here, but some of them in the previous level, are indicators to where you need to throw those boxes, which I didn't figure out the first time. So, oops. This level also definitely took a while. The timer is incorrect. Again, I'm coming back to that in the end. The next level is, in my opinion, the hardest level in this entire lobby. And it is the tower. It uses the most extreme form of non-traditional and non-intuitive design. And it is more a puzzle level than an execution level. But the execution plays a very big part here as well. So normally your instinct when you see a dream block is to go through it. You can't do that here. So first of all, I am making my way to the top here using very certain sides of certain dream blocks, doing neutral wall jumps to get up here, and I'm making this dream block disappear. These two, I make sure they fall because I'll need them later. Now I go through here and get the crystal that allows me to go through walls. And I need to preserve this to get to the end of the level. So the one dream block that we went through, we actively had to make disappear because it was in the way for the ending. So I'm making my way here. Obviously spikes disappear on all of the sides if I stand on them. That's why I had to plan my moves out. You'll see that the timer here is 13 minutes. This level took me 2.5 hours. But what actually happened is I got so into focusing on getting through this final room that I didn't even realize it was the final room. And that I didn't even record that final bit. So I had to go back and record that final bit. And yes, obviously I used invincibility 1 to practice certain rooms. That's the only level I did that. Or I used invincibility on to practice. And 2... I came back for that in the end, skipping ahead with invincibility. Anyway, Starlight Station. I'm not even gonna try to explain what's going on in this level. Shit pushes you forward and you do a lot of cool stuff. I'll pay more attention to the Starlight Station level in the Heartside. But overall, this is a fan favorite level in the Advanced Lobby. And yes, I fully stand by that. This is an amazing level. Definitely took me a while to get the hang of. I think I came back in 3 different sessions to do this level. That one took me a while to get used to, because you move very fast a lot of the time. But I definitely like Starlight Station. The next level is Dusk City. I'm gonna let the gameplay speak for itself. But what would happen if you had dream blocks on movable conveyor tracks? This level is what would happen. Since Celeste doesn't have a speed cap, or a speed limit on how fast Madeline can go, you can combine momentum out of these blocks to get huge speed combos, which makes for some really interesting gameplay. Here we get upwards momentum, forwards momentum, very far forwards momentum, which makes for a very interesting level. This one also took me an hour. A lot of these levels took me a while. I was saying something about the tower. I used invincibility when I had to skip ahead in levels when I had to re-record parts. I never used invincibility on the levels themselves when I was actually playing them, except for the tower, just to practice some of the later jumps. That will play a role in the Heartside. You will see that the timer on the entire Heartside stays the same apart for that screen. Maybe I'll come back to that later once we're actually getting there, but I re-recorded that part at a later moment. Something I didn't record at a later moment is Synapse. Synapse I did in its entirety. This level took me 2.5 hours almost. And I feel like this screen doesn't even do it justice, because it is split up in 4 different parts with 4 different checkpoints. Some of these normal screens were like the length of 2 checkpoints here without a mid checkpoint. And yes, it was really just like timing these cassette blocks with the music. I really like the visual here. So all of this is timed with the music, various variations of cassette blocks, these movable zipper blocks. They're timed dash, they're the dash blocks like here, whenever I dash they move. So we do stuff like that. A very, very interesting level, but my god, this was a difficult one. Another level with a super interesting concept. Let's finally finish my thoughts on what I was saying about the tower. The level, or the screen that I recorded on a different save file, I had to do that because I was using invincibility to practice the last jump. And I accidentally went through the screen transition to the next part, locking me out of that level, not having completed it. I definitely did, just at a later moment after I did the Heartside. But again, I spliced it together so all of this in this video is a cohesive story. Something that might not be so cohesive is the lab. This uses orbs where they, instead of shooting you forward, teleport you to a different place. So this teleports me there. That orb in the distance is going to teleport me back. So it may be a bit confusing to watch. That orb we're going to get into is going to shoot me back to the previous one. That's going to shoot me forward, then go back. We break this, break that, do a wave dash. And we're out of the lab. That one was another one. That was interesting. Actually died here. I didn't see those spikes. So it literally functions as wormholes. The orbs basically function where in such a way where they shoot you to the nearest other orb, or they teleport you to the nearest other orb. Which is confusing to play and a bit confusing to watch, but very satisfying to do in the end. The next level after all of Synapse and the lab and the tower is something that maybe I might have to shout out my girlfriend for. Belated Valentine's Day. since she's the one that actually got me back to making, or to wanting to make videos on Celeste and Strawberry Jam. This level is a fun one. These hearts shoot you in all of the directions you don't want to, so that's interesting. And surprise, that's the real hearts. I thought all of the hearts in this map are fake, except for that one, which I didn't realize, so thank God I was recording that part, so to speak. Because I thought that was going to be the final room, when in reality, the final room had already passed. The Heartside room of Belated Valentine's Day is going to be a little bit longer, so we will have more time to actually see what is going on, and not have just a 10-second bit of that. If Starry Ruins was difficult on portals, thinking with portals is even more so, because now we have a block that we have to juggle. So again, this may be a bit confusing to watch, but essentially we juggle this block to the end, or this box, because we need it. We do a reverse wave dash there, so we can hit that switch with that block and get through. Again, we will see more of that in the Heartside. That was another difficult one as well, to keep track of so many moving parts, because you're flying all around in this map from portal to portal, and then there's a box you have to keep track of. And right side down cavern, I'm not even going to try to explain, but just know that every time I hit one of these springs, gravity, and therefore also my controls, change. And when I'm doing reverse wave dashes off of them, upside down, that's kind of difficult. I also feel like the screen went on a little bit tame. The one on the Heartside definitely won't, but this is kind of your introduction to whatever this level is about. Just for reference, this video is already going to be close to an hour long, and it's only going to be the successful attempts of the final screen in every level, and of the Heartside. If I were to include fails in this video would be 4 hours long. That is also why I didn't record this with live commentary, because this entire lobby took me 34 hours to do and 12,000 deaths, and I am not prepared to edit that much footage. So right now we have done every level except for one, which is Call of the Void, which is a no gravity level. Not a low gravity level, a no gravity level. So every little jump you do, normally when you go over an edge, for example, and you do that little hop, now that's not the case. You hop and you keep flying upwards. So this is an interesting puzzle experience more than anything. Here we take a very convoluted route to just hit the ground. Here we do a little jump, no gravity to push me back. So I just keep flying up. And this is where you see me do a little jump and I just keep flying through. This is the best one because we keep on flying. I like this here because I'm trying to get up and I just float right up because there's no gravity holding me back. And then this final heart room, it's embarrassing to say that this took me almost 2 minutes to figure out you can just do that. Embarrassingly, that took 2 minutes. That is every level in the advanced lobby. That took a lot of time. That took 29 hours for that 30 minutes thing right now. Here you can see a preview of all of the times. We will spend more time on that later. You can see the tower, for example, took 2.5 hours. Superstructure here, it says half an hour. That's probably because I recorded it on a different save file. So far, 10,000 deaths, 28 hours. Now we're gonna add 2,000 deaths to that in the Heartside. I gotta give a shout out to all of the people that worked on this. This is a full-on community-driven mod. They only used some of the sprites of Madeline and obviously some of the tile sets and the mechanics and the core concept of Celeste. But they added so many more things. All of the custom music, the custom mechanics, portals is not a thing. All of Synapse and the layout of that. It is incredible how much work these people put into this. And this is just one lobby. There are 5 of them, which is ridiculous to say. So as I'm making my way up here, I'm definitely feeling the nerves. I like that the first beginner lobby has the blueberry bay and all of the crystal hearts are blue. The intermediate lobby, I can't actually remember what the color is. I can probably show it on the screen. But the Heartside is linked to the color of those crystal hearts. And here, since all of the crystal hearts are yellow/orange, we're gonna do Mango Mesa, the yellow fruit, the advanced Heartside. Let's do this. The best view comes after the hardest climb. Onward and upward, Madeline. So the introduction level of this, or the introduction screen, is Lost Woods. You can immediately see the season transition. This took me already 10 minutes, this first room. The goal is to get to the end at the top right, whilst the season is green. The route to get to that is a little bit of a puzzle and a bit convoluted, but now I can get up here and do some neutral wall jumps, so this way is open. If I were here in the orange season, for example, this way would just not be there. On to Raindrops on Roses, the umbrella level focused on exploration. We first go this way, being very careful to manage my stamina and my dashes. So we drop that block, which opens up the path below me. So now I can go through here. Luckily, there's a save point here. I make my way this way and I refill my stamina here. Get up the wind. Get this second key token so the way is open. A lot of this is exploration opening paths. On to, maybe you can guess the level already, Be Berserk. This is what that level normally looks like. It's not some crazy boss fight. This map gives you infinite, or this screen gives you infinite stamina, presumably because the honey is sticky or whatever. But this level is mainly focused on doing some wave dashes and a lot of climbing stuff, focused around these orbs. And we're out of that as well. On to slime time. Using these orbs, we get into red orb, then all of these blue ones, dodging those falling blocks. The insta-shoot bubbles. Going past here. Yeah, slime time is basically just a lot of bubble stuff. You don't see a lot of bubble levels, which I really like. You see a lot of jellyfish levels, for example. But stuff like slime time, or even forest rush, you don't see at all. We're getting massive speed again, because we're skating. Getting a lot of momentum off those blocks. I really like this, and I especially like that we have the skateboard here, and now we don't, because we dropped it off. A very nice hidden transition there. I absolutely love that. Into Synapse. This is a more accurate representation of what real Synapse levels were, or what real screens were. It's not with 4 different split parts and checkpoints in between. No. This is sort of accurately how long Synapse screens were, or at least how they felt like the first time I played that level. It is difficult and long, and you have to time that and stay on the music. It is difficult. Dusk City, as always, delivers with dream blocks and momentum. The two things in Celeste we all want to see more of. Oh man, I love this gameplay. This is one of the screens I definitely enjoyed the most. Getting big momentum boosts here, getting another big momentum boost here, and another upwards one there. On to Belated Valentine's Day. These crystals bounce you in whatever direction they choose to bounce you sometimes. And if you dash through them, you get your dash back. Luckily they respawn, so here I'm just stalling for that heart to respawn. Bouncing away, reverse hyper, dash through, I get my dash back, and then we do some simple bounces that I definitely didn't die on. Into Golden Dawn. Now you may see that so far we're only an hour in. And if you really paid attention to the timer, all of these levels didn't take that long. That's about to change. So far I thought, oh, this is actually going quite well. Here I do a neutral drop. and then a regrab into Attack of the Clone. Even this screen, it took me less than 2 minutes to get this. We get this because it explodes, so we can hurt Badalin. We get another crystal. Be careful to dodge all of the balls and lasers of all of the other Badalins. There's a lot. But you will see very soon after this next screen, I think, things will start to go downhill. So I've talked about these blue time freeze crystals, like that one there, which only unfreeze time when I get a dash back. So I'm being very careful here to retain or keep that dash. But there are also the gray time freeze crystals, which freeze time, like that one, for a short period of time, until here specifically, and then they just unfreeze time. That gave me just enough time so that Kevin block wasn't in my way. Into JavaScript. Again, I really like this level. So we start off small here. You see this big key here with the big flame, these tiny platforms, and then that big button on the right, and this big pillar here that I can't interact with yet. I'm making my way to the top left, because there's a potion there, which means this area will shrink. Now all of the big stuff suddenly doesn't seem so big anymore. And now I can interact with that button on the bottom right, and that gate will open. As I've proudly said before, you got to appreciate the creativity, the endless amount of creativity people put in this mod. This is something you would never see in base game. And maybe for Jellyfish Sanctum, thank God. Because they introduce a new mechanic in the Heartside. This screen took me 40 minutes. I'm not even gonna try and explain what's happening. I just throw these jellyfishes into springs, I ride onto them, I throw them into buttons, which open up gates. This screen took me so unbelievably long, it was painful. And then right after that, we're getting into the right side down cavern. I'm doing just my little celebratory dance. This screen as well took me about 22 minutes. Yeah, wave dashes upside down are hard. Especially when gravity's flipping every now and then, it's really hard to keep track of what's happening. This was a bit of trial and error until I got it, but I really like this. And then comes Tectonic Trenches. My god, this screen took 50 minutes because of one trick. All of this is fairly standard stuff, but one trick they didn't teach you in the gym and I've never done before was this. That like reverse extended core block jump boost, whatever that was. I hated it. I spent so much time on that. Also for that part I used invincibility to practice, which didn't really do that much in all fairness. It was just more like trial and error and watching guides and how to do it. Into thinking with portals, again, I'm not gonna try to explain this, just feast your eyes on the confusing gameplay and everything that's happening. If it's difficult to keep track of what's happening, don't worry, that's normal. Then this room I got in less than a minute. This was a third try room. Yeah, Lethal Laser Laboratory is definitely one of the easier levels, and this Heartside screen is one of the easier ones in the Heartside. Starry Ruins, we carry our momentum through these portals, which creates some really interesting movement things. And then we are onto Undergrowth. This screen didn't take me that long, took me only 10 minutes. It's mainly about using your moves cleverly, like doing wall bounces here. Here I forgot to do a wall bounce, but luckily I can save it, so we can get enough height for here. We do a mid-air super off that. Then we do a neutral drop here. And then I kind of panicked here. So I knew, okay, I need to break that with my dash. Then I got here. I was like, okay, what do I do now? Help, I'm gonna run out of stamina. I chose to get this dash back. And then I was like, okay, I need to get a dash here. So I went back. Then I realized, oh no, you don't have to get a dash here. You just go over. You do a corner jump, which is not difficult at it. It seems scarier than it is. And that's how we do it. And then now you will see that the timer changes from 56 hours to 11 hours because of one jump in the end. which you will see very soon. So again, we have to go through the ceiling with our go-through wall crystal. That jump, the hyper bunny hop on the dream block, was so ridiculous because I kept going through the dream block instead of doing a hyper. That's why this clip is recorded separately afterwards. That's why I had to use invisibility onto toggle theory. Now you may actually see some of these blocks when they move. So if they have a circle in them, they won't move. If they have an arrow, they will move. Here we do another hyper bunny hop, really the theme of that level, onto the lab. This upper orb is going to teleport me right, and then I'm going to go back into that same orb. Here I'm going to go around and left, here I'm going to go around and that's going to shoot me this way. Then I'm going to cling on this block, I'm going to do a wall bounce here, and that orb is going to shoot me down, so I can now go through here, do a wave dash, then here I'm going to do a super, and here I'm going through and holding down to get to the end. Again, confusing to watch, confusing to play, but very satisfying to do. This is where we talked about those indicators. So that light, for example, is where you throw it, which I didn't realize at first. Here we do the same thing. In the end, I kind of messed up and I salvaged it somehow. So here I was meant to throw it, but I panicked and I just did neutral wall jumps onto Starlight Station. Now I can maybe explain what's happening. So we start by doing wave dashes and activating some platforms. Then here we jump, so that moves out of the way, that pushes us down, and then we go crazy. Shit's gonna be pushed. Shit's gonna push us. This moves really fast, and yeet! Yeet! And then we go across. Oh my god, I love Starlight Station gameplay. It is so good. Onto Call of the Void. The funny no gravity level. Doing some mid-air supers along the way, and some wall bounces. I like it just when Madeline floats and there's nothing you can do. Luckily there's a mid-level checkpoint here, because this next move was difficult. The like dash down into wall bounce, that was a difficult one. Then here we transfer this way, and then we do 3 quick jumps, which was also very difficult, into a big jump. And that is the Heartside. That took 5 hours. That little 15-minute Heartside clip took 5 hours to do. In fact, this nearly hour-long gauntlet of victories took me 34 hours to do. 34 hours, 1,200 or 12,000 deaths. This Heartside took 2,000 in total. So here I finally get it. I do my little celebratory dance again until we finally get the Crystal Hearts. That is the advanced lobby complete. Took a lot of hard work, and I definitely feel like I earned it. I absolutely loved the advanced lobby. 25 big ol' levels. This final lobby complete screen is never gonna cease to amaze me. The art on there, again, all community driven. I absolutely adore it. During the credits, I maybe have some time to talk about the future of this series. So right now we have done the Celeste B-sides, the Celeste C-sides, and the Farewell DLC. A-sides was somewhere in between C-sides and Farewell. I have no interest on recording that. It is not interesting enough for a video. And then we went on to Strawberry Jam. We did the beginner lobby, the intermediate lobby, and now the advanced lobby. There are 2 more lobbies left, being Expert and Grandmaster. As it stands right now, I have a feeling that Grandmaster is never ever going to happen. And with Expert, I'm a little on the fence on that one. I'll say this. There is a possibility that somewhere in the future an Expert lobby Strawberry Jam video will come. I might play some levels. I might record some clips and it will be in the same format as this video, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. Expert or Advanced was already really pushing it. Expert, from what I've seen and heard, is very difficult for people who just came out of Advanced lobby. I have to learn ultras and spike boost and jelly smuggles and dream hypers and all of that stuff. Especially ultras I'm really afraid of. And some of the shit I've seen is scary to say the least to tackle, as what I feel like is I'm not a rightful advanced Celeste player. I feel like I squirmed my way through this lobby. So expert may be a little bit out of my league. But never say never. Maybe sometimes in the future that will come. However, I have a lot of other stuff planned. So that's what I mean by don't get your hopes up. The one thing that I'm gonna do after these credits is look at the journal with all of the times and the stats, as I said I would do. This was recorded on multiple save files, so maybe this lobby didn't even take 34 hours, because I have 12 hours on another save file. Maybe in reality this probably took closer to 40 hours than to 30. But man, that is the advanced lobby. Again, a huge shout out to everyone who worked on this, and I can't stress it enough. Community-driven project. There are 116 playable maps in this. There are custom maps and lobbies and maps in the lobbies and the map of the lobby and gyms and tutorial areas. It is ridiculous how much time and effort went into this, and all of the custom music. Man, it is ridiculous. Thanks for playing. Oh, the pleasure is mine. And hopefully you enjoyed these videos as well, my dear, dear watcher. The one thing that I was going to do is check out this book. 5 strawberries, 12,000 deaths, 34 hours on this specific save file. I don't know how much it is on the other one. I think, yeah, like the entire other save file is 12 hours, but I can't even remember what I did on that and what I didn't. So right now, we have done the beginner lobby, which was this, the intermediate lobby, which was this, and now we have done the advanced lobby. So that is that. Based on the book, there are all the beautiful stickers. Let me see if there are some things that are worth noting. Yeah, everything took between 45 minutes and an hour, and then there are some things that took way longer. The tower and synapse immediately jump out. Right side down cavern took an hour and 40 minutes. Call of the Void definitely took an hour to get my brain wrapped around it. 2,000 deaths in the Heartside alone. My god. What a journey it's been. So I guess right now that leaves only one possible ending for this series, being the expert lobby. So, my dear Mount Everest of expert lobby, here I come.